everyone, and welcome back to another episode of OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast, a regional over the weekend, the global challenge as well, and a special guest joining us on the podcast today. Cannot wait to dive into it. My name's Sierra Dawn, joined here by my co-host Joe Brown, and none other than Rosemary Kelley, Miss Nekkra herself. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me. Excited to talk about the most recent events.
We're great. This is a big get for me and Sierra. We haven't had you on the pod yet, and however many episodes in. So we knew it had to be for a special occasion to have you here with OHKO, and certainly it's very special. You're a superstar, Rose. You're one of the shining faces of the new Pokemon competitive documentary that's been releasing over the last couple of weeks. So obviously, on top of all the competitive things like Stockholm regionals and whatever, we're definitely going to dive into the documentary too, because I'm so interested in how that process wound up. But one thing I do want to say at the beginning here, Sierra, is that I thought it was really funny in the first episode of the documentary when I posted the SpongeBob meme, because like Rosemary just sat next to me for like 4 seconds in Japan and they used that clip and just like I'm just like a little millisecond in the doc, and so that's how the doc starts. And then the doc ends in episode 3 with you just like in a half-second shot with Rosemary. Like just like both of us were SpongeBob memed or Mike Wazowski next to Rose. It was so good.
I'm going to make sure that like you in a half-second clip with Rose is the thumbnail of the episode. It'll be like star of the documentary, not Joe Brown. Like make sure they know, even though it's pointing to you.
Just have to put a Sylveon over Joe Brown. That's the thumbnail, right? It's three of us, but you put Sylveon over Joe Brown and you Mike Wazowski him.
I just put the OHKO logo over his face. It's like the barcode, just the OHKO logo.
It's so good.
Perfect. So right. I'm tweaking for I like losing it. There is there is someone yelling outside or one of my cats yelling in the other room. So I need to investigate this. Joe Brown, ask a question. I gotta figure out who is yelling and what is happening. I'm so sorry.
Sierra's doing her thing. Canada's crazy sometimes. All right, it's just me and Rose. It's just a family affair right now, Rose. How are we doing? How has the conversations been post documentary? I know like during the we knew the outcome, right? Where this was recorded history, so we knew you were going to end up with Masters finals, and that was the story building up. So I'm sure the conversations you were having in the weeks through the documentary, like, has that changed at all now that we've seen the conclusion of the story? Like, what are people asking you about after the documentary?
Well, first, I gotta clear something up. I did not know I was going to get Masters Finals. We actually went through the entire documentary series and said, well, okay, obviously this is a goal of mine just as a caster in the Pokemon space, but it was never a guarantee. We could have actually got to Worlds and I could have not had the Masters Finals because it was actually out of our decision.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I just meant like because of the time. But I just meant we literally saw you like in real life have Masters Finals. Right. Not that we knew before the documentary started.
Right.
Just like
I just wanted to make sure. I was like, I got to be really clear about this because we could have got to the end and then what, right? Like, oh, okay, well, the storyline is hopefully we're gonna get there, and that's gonna be the epitome, I guess, of the or whatever. That's not the right word I wanted to use there, but you know what I mean. That's the payoff of the actual story building. But we had no idea that was going to be the case until we actually got the email and until we actually got there. So it was kind of interesting having that moment where we're casting the Masters Finals. It's all getting filmed. And Lou and I are just like, we actually don't know how this is going to look for the actual documentary. Is this actually going to be the storyline that they decide to follow, or do they just use this as extra footage for wherever else they want to take this? Because we didn't have any sort of creative control over what the documentary chose at the end of the day to show to everybody.
Yeah. All right, I am back.
How's it going, Sierra?
There is people like fighting in the back alley. So I closed the window, locked it. I opened the window a little bit more to hear what was going on, and then it was something like, "You're ugly, don't touch me." As like, I don't know what's going on.
Never visiting Sierra, Canada, ever.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure 2 people, like 2 different neighbors, got murdered in the last 6 months. I don't know what's happening. I need to move. So yeah, I am back. I'm sorry for that. Okay, documentary stuff.
Documentary.
That's okay. I wanted to ask, sorry if it related in any way, shape, or form to what was originally asked. I don't think it quite did, but talking about like that, like not having that creative control in the story and stuff too. Obviously, at this point, it's been out for a bit. You did have a little bit of um a story meeting, and, like public and like talk about it and stuff. So everything's like out there. So I want to know too, like how you felt about how your story was represented. Um, or if like because they followed a whole year of your life, right? And then they put it into 3 episodes. Like, was there stuff that you kind of wish was there and then wasn't, or like a different story they could have followed, or are you like satisfied fully with like the edit they gave?
Overall, I think I'm really happy with how the docuseries ended up turning out. I think that they were able to capture a lot in just a short period of time. But I think there were definitely a lot of things that I wish that they had been able to include. They followed us for days. Like the clips that they showed of Lou and I in Japan, they actually followed us for the entire day. And it boiled down to what, like a 2-minute clip, I think,
Yeah.
of us like meeting at in a train station and then going out and exploring. Um, so if you think about that and the grand scale of how much footage they might have actually captured for this, like maybe they take like 120 hours and they use 20 minutes, which is insane actually to think about just the scale of that being boiled down to so little time. I think the thing that I do wish was captured a little bit more is the camaraderie that we have on the casting team. I spent a good several hours talking about like how proud I was of everybody on the team, how much I feel like we work together as a team to make the shows better. And a lot of that commentary was missing. Like I remember talking about North America International Championships and saying, like, oh God, I'm so proud of the fact that like Evan and Gabby did such a great job on that Masters finals. I was so happy that David was able to do his very first ever NIIC alongside Jake. Like it made me so happy to be able to be there for Jake's first international championship. And I think that would have added a lot of extra to the show that was missing. I almost wish they had done a whole extra episode because they were also missing all of the stuff from like Lou and I doing the Latin America International Championships together. They didn't show any of the finals that you two crushed at UIC, and I thought that that was whack. I'm like, how do you not put in such an important event to lose story as well as just incorporating the rest of the team? So that's like my only thing I do wish that they had done a little bit more of is showing the rest of the season just as a whole.
Yeah, I think people love the content, right? So like from there, maybe they who knows, maybe they went into it as a 3 episode documentary, but like if there was like a secret fourth behind the scenes episode that releases, or like other little stories, like people are gonna eat up this content. I'm watching it as a video editor, right? Like so I'm seeing how they're editing the storylines, and like okay, there's the A plot and the B plot. There's like A plot is Wolf's journey and B plot's the caster's journey, and they're both trying to achieve success. They're both trying to be the top of their respective position that they're aiming for. And I was hoping that like at the end, like in Hawaii, like after some championship Sunday, you guys would like go out to dinner, like the 4 of you or something, like you,
Mhm.
Wolf, Marcus, and Lou, and like just have a little crossover conversation so the A plot and B plot had like a little connection at the end. Was there ever any communication with Marcus or Wolf throughout, or like, oh, we're at the same event, or put you guys in the same camera shot? Like, I wonder, because was it like you guys were all making one documentary together, but like without crossover, it felt like 2 different documentaries, 2 different storylines.
Yeah, there was a little bit of cross pollination. I don't think that the team as a whole tried super hard to try to get us into the same locations. Um, I don't know if that was necessarily a missed opportunity, but I felt like I had very little to do with Wolf's story and vice versa, outside of him giving us great content for our actual streams to cast over. But while it would have been nice, I think, to have those moments because the 4 of us are friends. Like this is not the first time that we've actually I was part of Wolf's content. We've been on Beast Coast together. Marcus actually used to be a caster as well on the team, and I think he still does casting for the EU team. But he was also more on the international scale and was the first person that I had done a true international championship with at LAIC in 2020. So it's like we are friends. It's just interesting, I think, the way that they decided to take the direction. And maybe the big payoff at the end you were hoping for was the roundtable that we did as the final piece for the third episode that was posted to the I think it was like to the YouTube or the Twitch or something, but that content's also out there. I just don't know if it brings everything together in the marriage that you would hope that it would have.
I think Joe Brown's just like, I want the happy endings that I always want, like type person.
It's so weird because I'm watching it. I know Wolf doesn't win, but he does pop off at Worlds, right? He's like 18-0 in games or whatever before his first loss. Like, so in my head, I'm watching it as a viewer of a storyteller, and I'm like, I'm imagining someone who doesn't know the story. Are they like, oh my God, Wolf is going to win Worlds? But I'm like, wait, but I know Wolf doesn't win Worlds, but I kind of feel like he's gonna win Worlds here. Like it's a weird feeling, you know?
It is so weird because I think going through it too, I also had the same feeling where I'm watching this happen. I'm like, is Wolver Marcus gonna win Worlds? Like, oh my God, I think they could actually do it. Like the tension is building even throughout the episode where they're playing in the World Championships, and you go, they're getting the Pokeballs. They're getting the wins that they need to actually move on to the next step. And you do know what it looks like at the end result, but it's still, I'm happy that they at least were able to still build that suspense, because I think the docuseries is best intended for people that are not a part of the competitive Pokemon space, but that maybe they're hoping to capture the magic to inspire people to actually come try out competitive Pokemon. And I like that they can give that aspect, and it does make it seem like, oh, like maybe somebody can win the world championships, or oh my gosh, this is how much work it takes to actually win a world championships.
I like that, obviously, like him losing, like, just like sucks, like obviously, like all that, like for the doc, even just like on a personal, because Wolf's a cool person. But like I do think that what was really nice about the doc was like how they kind of brought in an element of like, yeah, Wolf lost, but this person, like everyone else has that story, which I liked, because then Kylan beat him, and then Wolf, you see like, oh, Wolf sad, sad doc moment. But then they take a second to actually show like Kylan celebrating with his friends and all this stuff too. Like, okay, like the story continues, which I think is then cool tie into that whole like, yeah, this could be someone else like that can actually do this story. So like there is little things like that that I really liked. I thought was a really nice touch, because it's not, I mean, obviously there's the joke that it's all about Wolf in the community because he just keeps winning. Like how could it not be when he keeps winning? Like, sorry, but like
how crazy was it though? The timing of the docuseries coming out, Wolf
after
wins the
he
Europe International
wins.
Championships. It's
Yeah.
almost like the storyline writes itself. The plot armor for this man is crazy.
It was really good timing. Yeah.
Dude, I was joking with someone backstage, but like obviously like I knew from get-go I was doing closing, so I knew that I was announcing the docu-series. And Wolf's in the finals, and I'm like, dude, there's someone at Pokemon right now that's like, let's go. And the fact that Wolf won right after, like, he gets like the trophy, and then it's like, by the way, here's a docu-series about Wolf. Like someone's like losing it. They're like, I'm about to get a raise and a promotion. Let's go, Wolf Blick. Oh my goodness. So funny.
One thing
so good.
one thing I really loved though when I was watching was like, I feel like people always use the word humanize in a negative way, like, oh, they humanized you, like, but I mean it in a positive way, like, because most of the time you see Wolf on screen either on YouTube or on literally on the stage. The viewers just see him in the presentation, the theory of Wolf, right? Or as a caster, they just see you behind the red backdrop or in front of the red backdrop, right? Like they just see you in that little square, Rose. They see you and Lou and all the other casters, like you don't get to see them outside. Like people always make comments like if they see me at a regional on the Friday and I'm not wearing a suit, right? Because you used to see me wear a suit on Saturday and Sunday of the regional. And I thought that the doc did a really good job of like just showing you guys outside of Pokemon as people, like when you guys went to get lunch with Gabby and Chalky, and like just your life in Boston and like your whole journey. Like everybody already knows you as a caster, but like there's a whole world of Rose outside of commentary, and I think that people can like appreciate that now more. Like, how do you think, or what were going through your mind when they were recording you in your house and like recording you at lunch and stuff like that? Like, how was that process?
Oh my God, it was so weird. Like if you're just trying to do normal things and you have this crew of 5 or 6 people following you around, you have a microphone on you at all times. And you're just like, oh my God, am I going to curse? Am I going to say something that's going to be captured forever on national television that is damning? Like, I don't know. Am I just going to say something absurdly stupid and they're just going to put this in the documentary anyway? Um, and it was strange because I think it took a lot to get over the mental hurdle of you're just needing to do normal stuff. Like, I'm getting groceries. And yes, there's a camera following me, but ignore it, right? Like that's not there. Or like I'm eating lunch with my friends, or I'm prepping with my friends, and there's a camera there, but ignore that. Like it's just not there. And I think after the first couple of days, you start to forget about the other people that are there, but you guys know how it is. The camera comes on and you're like, do I have to filter myself now because this is capturing me for everybody else to see?
What about just like you're talking about them following when grocery shopping? Like beyond just how you felt about like the situation, like there's cameras following me. What about like the like, oh, I'm out in public and everyone else is watching this crew follow me around? Like, get into that because like that I feel like you're saying given enough time you could get used to the cameras following you, but I don't think I could get used to people looking at me in the supermarket with like a crew following me.
Oh my God. That I think is something that I hope that I never have to think about again. I already hate vlogging. I tried it for my own content. I thought, ooh, everyone else is doing these cute little behind the scenes vlogs or them being out in the city and capturing all these moments. And I tried it for a couple of events and I realized how cringe is this? Like I have a camera on me and I'm talking into a camera and all these other people can watch me creating this content and it's cringe to think about the fact that I'm belting my voice talking about a city that other people live in when I probably have no idea what I'm talking about and like who the hell is this girl? Like what is she doing? Why is she here and doing all of this? And I do think that that is the headcanon of a lot of people watching the behind the scenes filming of this crew following this like random girl with pink hair around like who is this?
Did
So
anyone
yeah,
approach you and ask you?
there were a couple people that did that and it's obviously not footage that they ended up including, but there were also people that would come up and they're like, oh my God, I know who you are. I'm like, why do you know that? Like I don't think I like that you know that. But at a certain point I think the cameras give it away. And so now you're also like, oh shoot, I not only have to worry about the camera crew capturing this, but also what the people around me are thinking at this certain point in time. So you have to block out two things out of your mental: is the intrusive thoughts about the people thinking that you're crazy, and also that the camera is following you around.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I liked it. I liked all of it of the 3 episodes. Like I said, I wish we had 5 or 6 episodes just following more and more daily life. Like just go to the grocery store. You said filing your taxes. Like just
Oh God,
the
no.
whole life. I know taxes. That'd be like 6 episodes on its own. There's probably so much you have to go through
So
there.
many hours.
Well, one thing I loved from the doc was, and we had Gabby on last week on the podcast, just after episode 2, so we hadn't even seen the conclusion yet. But I do think the documentary does it pays a lot of respect to the supporting cast within the main cast life. So we think about like that lunch that you had with you and Stefan had that lunch with Gabby and Chalky, and Gabby had a lot of like words of encouragement for you, and like obviously she's been a big role model throughout the your whole VGC commentary career and stuff. And then that was reiterated in Hawaii. In the 3rd episode, we had another clip with Gabby, like kind of as the elder, as the leader, like giving you confidence and stuff. And when
Did you just call her old?
listen, that's a conversation for another day. You could be a young elder. It's about energy, okay? It's about energy.
Could have just said no, dude. Could have just said no. So we gotta listen.
Listen. Anywho, Gabby. We love Gabby. We love Gabby.
We do
So,
love Gabby.
like, she's giving you guys the confidence. And I think about like they followed Wolf with the crew over the summer where they spent 2 weeks training together, and the Aarons are there, and Yuki is there, and Marcus, and like also Wolf's girlfriend, like the coolest person ever. I never even knew she existed before. Now she's like my favorite. She's so supportive, and like she's keeping everybody on track on the at Worlds and stuff. It was awesome. So like I'm just wondering with Gabby specifically, or the supportive characters within the storyline, like how important were they in this process? Was there any communication with the, I don't, secondary sounds like a negative thing to say, but I don't mean it in a negative way, like secondary storyline people like Aaron or Yuki or Gabby, like how were they in the process?
I don't know if I would have been able to finish this process if it hadn't been for like Gabby and Lou's support throughout the entire thing. Like it's a weird thing to have to go through. And I think at least having people that understand what's happening and you can actually talk to about what they're interviewing you for, what questions they're asking, what kind of things it feels like they are starting to poke at a little bit more. It was really nice to have that support system of like, okay, well, Lou, did you like that? Maybe we should tell them that this isn't something that we're super comfortable with. Or, you know what? I think you're right, Gabby. Like, maybe we should try to point them in a different direction of things that we think is important to us as well as just important to the community. And there was a lot of fear, like, I was terminally nervous that this was going to come out and it was going to come across like I'm better than the other casters, or like I am so full of myself, or like I don't know, there was a lot of stuff that I felt like I had to talk about with Lou and Gabby specifically, that it was important that we understood and were able to communicate what we thought was important to also support like the rest of the team. I don't know how much it ended up influencing the final process or like the final version that actually came out, but that was something that was in the back of my head the entire time we were filming, is how is this actually going to make the rest of the talent feel? And I don't want them to show something that's going to make them feel bad or feel less than themselves, because I see us all as equals. Like we're all working on the same process together. We're all trying to make the show the best that we can. And I just so happened to be a person that they decided to follow to show off some of that. So,
It's a weird conversation with like, because I know for the TCG, they followed players and they followed the judges, which is a very like the judge work scope of things is very different than like the talent scope of things. Cause it's like going back to like we're a team and we're all equals, but it's like it's also like competitive to where like not everyone can get picked up for events, but there's not ill will against each other, but at the same time, you're hoping that you're getting that spot. And it's like, it's so weird. Like, obviously, like Rose, like you and me work in like the bigger esports ecosystem as well, where it's very much so a similar thing. Like, there's a inherent competition that's bred, but there's no ill will. And it's like a weird thing too. So I think like the way the documentary went about it was definitely like well done. So like
oh, that's
kudos
good to
on you and
hear.
Lou, because like I don't think it came across that way, cuz like I had worries like midway through EUIC specifically, like obviously you and Lou were being built up as this duo. Then I casted with Lou. And I'm like, all right, am I now
We
like
gotta
this
kill
Sierra's a big
Sierra.
bad,
am I like this villain? Because like the way like it's like Lou and Rose casted LAIC. They're building up this duo. Sierra's casting. Well, like what the heck? And I was like, I was so stressed out the entire weekend because I'm like, I'm not even a part of this docuseries. Like,
oh
this has nothing
no.
to do with me. And I'm like, but now I'm like thrown into the story in like a potentially negative light, because like obviously like we're friends, so, like we know there's no ill will between us, but like how is this going to read if like they're like documentary, they're like we're actually going to edit it in a way that does make it look like you're not
Oh
friends, and
no.
it'll be like all weird. So like I was panicking with Lou before the doc came out, because I'm like, dude, and I'm like, I like obviously none of us have any ill will. And I'm like, I really don't want it to be like shown like that at any point. Cause like it'd be so awkward, right? So like they excluded Lou's entire EUIC thing, which I know like in talking about like her journey, it would have been nice to see. But like on my own note, I'm like, oh my God, like thank goodness. Like, but thank good, like how the community perceives things, like it's
I
not match up with the reality. And I'm like, I do not want in any way, shape, or form to think that there's ill will or fighting on this team just because like, oh my God.
I totally get it. I did not think that they would ever do you dirty like that. but I understand the thought in the back of the head of like, I really gonna be the villain of the season? Because we all know how reality television is. We all watch
Yeah.
a tremendous amount of reality television.
Too much. I watch too much of it.
Way too much. Like, that is my guilty pleasure for sure. But I am quite happy that they were able to, I think, to capture the best parts of the talent team. I still, again, think that there was a lot more that they could have shown, to show the camaraderie, the teamwork, even there. I think even there was an angle for them to be able to show you and Lou doing the finals together and doing an amazing job without painting you as this person that came in and like stole my partner. What the heck? Like, I just think that there was a way for them to do that wholesomely, looking at how they handled the rest of the execution of the documentary. That would have been fine.
I mean, going to the reality TV part, because this is a question I had, and I don't want to forget it. The reality TV. Something with the documentary as well was like these confessionals, which we all get to see in the reality TV. It's always fun to see because like they're like, oh, we're not dumb. Like they show a confessional halfway through a competition. They did not pull somebody mid conversation, like mid competition, to get this confessional. That's all done afterwards. Like, but they're talking about it in the moment. So like you have to then like kind of go through that. Like, what was that like? Actually living out like a little reality TV thing we all see.
It was weird because of how much reality television that I watch. I think it was something that was always in the back of my head of, are where are they going to use this? And am I actually remembering everything to the best of my ability to actually give them good confessional material to work with? Like, obviously, you're not trying to manipulate anything to make it sound better or worse or whatever have you, but you're trying to be honest. And sometimes the confessional is happening late. Like it's a couple days later, or it's like a week later or something, and you're like, I don't know if I remember everything that I was actually thinking and feeling in this moment, but I gotta hope that I get it right at this point. So that was definitely the like a weird part of it of, well, now watching my favorite reality television show, how well are they remembering the things that are happening, or how much are the producers actually manipulating the things that they're asking so they can get the perfect clip for this perfect moment in the show.
But maybe Sarah's not as much of a beep as I thought she was. You know, like you
Right.
from your favorite show. You know.
Goodness. I mean, then talking about like that manipulation too, like obviously Joe Brown's like, yo, we didn't get a staged thing of like you guys
I
having
just
lunch
want.
at
I
the
thought it would
end.
have been one of
About-
your little like coconut drinks in Hawaii. Like, hey,
oh
we
my
didn't.
gosh.
You know what? We didn't win, but at least we tried, or something like that. And that's the whole point. Pokemon, yay! And we like clink our coconut drinks. It would have been cute.
Okay, that
I
could have been a cute clip. Yeah.
It would have been cute, but they didn't like push you guys to do that. I mean, I'm curious, like obviously there was moments where it's like that were included, like lunch with Gabby and she's offering words of support, like sitting at the side, like you, Lou, and Gabby. And it's again, she's like, you guys deserve it, which are like big like points of the doc to like build up yours and Lou's stories. I'm curious too if like you feel comfortable talking about like if all of it's like organic or if there is like a hey, I'm gonna have a doc crew following me on this day. Hey Gabby, are you available for lunch? Like let's go get lunch, like thing or like even them being like, hey, like this should be a day you kind of go do this so we can show what it's like in your day of doing this.
So for the lunch part specifically, they did actually schedule us to meet together, but everything else that transpired after that is completely organic. Like, that's a conversation that I've had with Gabby multiple times. Like, if you ask her, she'll tell you the exact same thing. I've always looked up to her as that big sister figure, as that beacon of inspiration to just do this career and to be a part of the Pokemon casting team. And I'm glad that we were able to capture that in the actual footage, but it wasn't necessarily something that I felt like was forced. It was a very natural point in the conversation. And similarly to when we were actually talking at World, sometimes we would be in the same spaces, right? But I think what actually comes out in those moments is very organic and very true. Like, I didn't make up anything, at least for the sake of a documentary or whatever. It was all meaningful, and it was all something I would have said anyway in the moment.
Now I do have a couple questions about the ending, and not
Okay.
like the lasting documentary, but like
Rob
your
just wants to talk
stories.
about this ending. Like
And
he's
no, no,
just
no,
so
no, no, no,
on
No, we're not
this.
drinks. Come on.
No, 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 no. I don't mean the end of the documentary. I mean the end of your story of you two getting Masters finals and the capstone of that story. And in the moment, you know, you talk about you've been doing Pokemon, you know, official commentary since 2019 and all the way onward. Every time the goal is Masters finals, the goal is Masters finals, right? And you've achieved it. And I think in a lot of like a sports comparison or maybe an esports athlete comparison, like a lot of times the people at the top of their game and when they achieve the number one goal, a lot of times their happiness or their appreciation is a sense of relief that they didn't fail, right? It's like it depends, it's a certain type of mindset. And so I wonder, in the moment in Masters Finals, you call Luca Cherubelli winning the worlds and everything, and you toss over to the stage and high five Luna, like, let's decompress. What was the first thoughts in your head? Was it, I've achieved my goal, I'm so proud? Or was it like, oh, I'm so happy we didn't screw it up? Like, because it happens a lot in sports. I know people might think I sound crazy, but it is
No,
a
you're not
common
crazy.
mentality in sports that people are like, I'm happy I didn't lose more than I'm happy that I won, you know?
I actually think my first thought coming after that Masters finals was I could have done a better job. I'm such a perfectionist and I'm very hard on myself. And I think overall, my first thought was, wow, that final call was not creative. Oh, like I feel like there were just moments where, especially at the start of the match, I already had felt like we had sort of gotten off to a bad foot because we didn't know the camera was coming us so quickly. We didn't have a lot of time to actually go through the team sheets. And if you actually check how much of the pre-match we have, it's very short in comparison to how many notes we had actually prepared beforehand to get the point of the match across. The win conditions for both sides felt like it was a missed mark on our part. So the first thought after that was, geez, like, did I screw this up? Did I actually fumble this opportunity? I do feel like I could have done a better job. So, oof, like I don't know actually what the final product of this match actually looks like. I go back and I watch it, and I'm actually pretty happy with how the match went overall. I think it's tough in the moment to get over maybe some of the hangups that you have about the little things that went wrong or the things that just stick out to you. But once I actually went back, hindsight is 2020, and I was overall like quite happy. Of course, there's still going to be things to improve upon, but I had a wrong feeling in that moment. It wasn't too short after that that I went, oh, you know what? But we made it through that. Like okay, great. Like, hey, awesome. Like we did it. It was like all fleeting moments. I think it's like 2 seconds of feeling like I think I could have done better. Another 2 seconds of no, we made it through that. Like everything is good. And then Lou and I just like break down in tears. Like we're just happy we got through the moment. I think we're happy that overall we did the best job that we could given the circumstances. And I remember feeling very happy with the work that we had put in to actually make it to the moment and feel like we still delivered a cast we could be proud of. Even if it took maybe a week later and going back and watching the VOD to actually achieve that, it was still nice to know that we got through that together. So I don't know if that actually answers your question.
No, it is. I
But
love that answer. I love that
yeah,
answer because it
it's a
shows
whole
like
roller coaster of
as
emotions.
a like, you know, people might have thought I was crazy with the way I asked the question, but you kind of did answer it how people at the top of their fields, the top of their industries, you know, you're never satisfied, right? You're always looking to improve. Even though you've climbed the mountaintop, you achieved your goal of casting Masters finals, you still feel like you can improve. You still feel like you can do better. So this leads into my second question, the potential sequel, not necessarily of documentary, just as you continue your commentary career here, you've achieved that goal. Wolf achieved the goal 10 years ago of trying to be world champion, and he's still chasing that high, still trying to achieve that second world's victory. What does the future look like for Rosemary? Is it Rose and Lou to run it back 2.0? Is it I want to get Masters finals again? Like what are you thinking as you've reached that high goal that you set for yourself? Now you're here, you got to raise the bar again. What does the future look like for yourself?
I think get Masters finals again, duh. Like who doesn't want to have
I
an
also think
opportunity
that
to
was a
cast-
silly question. Don't.
but who I think you two can speak to this too. But is that also not the goal at some point to like get a Masters finals and feel
Absolutely.
like that's it? Like I achieved that, right?
Yeah, I think too, it's like there's like the two goals is like, and I think that it's pretty safe to say this across the board, though I can't really speak for anyone else, but it's like the two goals is to get to work the prestigious like finals, whether that's an internationals or whether that's a world or being on the prestigious event that is world, but then also like the performance that you have during that. Cause it's always like, if you like, my personal belief is if you ever come off of a cast and you're like, that was 100% perfect, you're delusional and like there's always something better you can do. You can be happy with the cast, but you can also recognize where it could have been stepped up in some sort of way, whether it's like, okay, there could have been this said, this could describe like there's always like something that can change. So it's like the goal is like to be able to then work that and then for Rose be able to work that again, but then also like level it up, especially too like you look at like famous like commentators. Like I love Valorant, for example. So the people that are like top of what they do, casting wise, like Pansies. Oh my gosh, she's worked all these prestigious events, but it's still like she's so good. But it's still like, okay, what can she do more? What's like the next legendary call, etc. Or like Golden Boy, top tier host. Again, like it's no shortage of like top events to work. That is for sure. The guy's resume is crazy. But then like the constant improvement off of that, which I think is like safe. So it's like for like me and Joe Brown is like, okay, chasing like our first Masters finals and then improvement along the way. And then Rose, like for you to get back there and then also like stepping up what you're able to do like from the last time.
Yeah, I mean I think all of us have the goal of hoping to continue to increase the gold standard of what it means to be a Pokemon caster. We had that established so early on by incredible commentators, but the goal is to always keep pushing that floor, make it higher, make the ceiling even higher than that, push through, break the glass ceiling, and go to the moon, right? I think we all have that goal of trying to make ourselves but the rest of the team better. And so that's certainly something I share with you, Sierra. Like I would love to be able to keep pushing that boundary of what it means to be a great Pokemon caster. I think we all hope to achieve that at some day.
Listen, I gotta hit seniors finals before I can even dream of getting the Masters final. Sierra's one leg up on me. Rose has got me by 2 legs here. I gotta start catching up.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
not far behind though, Joe. And I think that's something that is also like a shared fear is maybe not the right word I want to use here either, but it's like so few spots for so many people, and it goes back to a part of the conversation we were having at the beginning of this episode is are you happy for yourself while also, feeling like I don't know, like you feel bad for your friends, or you hope everybody can be there, but you also know that you being there means that somebody else doesn't get to be there, or like vice versa. I don't it's stressful. Like I just want
Oh
all my
yeah.
friends to be there, and there's
Yeah.
only so many people that get a chance to go and do that. And how do you make sure that you're one of those people that they're constantly considering? How do you make sure that you are maintaining that standard, or getting better to increase that so that you are in like an easy thought? Like I don't know, it's hard.
It's so weird. Like, Rose, I'd love to see you cast another Master Finals. Joe Brown, I'd love to see you cast Masters Finals.
Exactly.
That is a spot taken away from me. So at the same time, it's like, like, okay, but I also want that spot. And there's only the 2 spots. So then like what happens here? Like it's so weird. It's so weird. I
But
love esports.
yeah. Speaking of esports, let's get into our other esports here, Rosemary, because you're all over the place in the esports sphere. You do Overwatch, you do Team Fight Tactics, you've done like a whole bunch of Twitch Rivals things. I feel like I saw you do Apex once at some point, if I'm not
I did.
mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So like you've covered a bajillion esports and commentary, and so obviously you keep coming back home to Pokemon. That's the thing. No matter what, you go off to Overwatch, you go off to TFT, you go to China for TFT, for God's sakes, and then you come back to Pokemon, right? So what is so different, what is so enticing or so alluring about commentary in Pokemon compared to the other esports? And besides Pokemon, what is your other favorite esports to do commentary for?
Okay. Well, that second part sounds like a loaded question. So I'm going to say that I love them all, but I have a
That's
particular
not a gotcha. I
affinity
swear. That's not.
for strategy games. I always have. Like you talk about some of the other games that I've cast. Like I used to cast Hearthstone. I hosted StarCraft 2 event. I've always loved strategy games. I feel like I love when I get to scratch the itch of thinking really critically about a game while also finding a way to talk about it. That is easier said than done sometimes. Like sometimes you just trip over your words or you forget a couple things and you're like, wow, well now I sound stupid. And now the rest of the world gets to see that. But I also still like the FPS games. Like I grew up as a competitive Overwatch player. Like I loved watching Overwatch League. Watching Overwatch World Cup in the Anaheim arena was one of the things that actually sparked my interest in following esports and doing esports as a full-time career. I didn't necessarily know what it was going to look like when I was just like, "Ooh, competitive video gaming is so awesome. I just want to be involved in that." And somehow I fell into commentary or being in front of a camera as what ended up sticking in terms of being a part of esports more full time. But Pokemon is really special because I think it has a community that's unmatched. Like, I go to other games, and of course, like, there's amazing corners of every single gaming community that is competitive or otherwise. Like, some are more wholesome than others, but I think Pokemon is so special because it's really built from the ground up. We started with local scenes. We're really committed to creating this community culture at a local level that extends upward from such a great foundation. I think we've all had fantastic experiences going to local events and finding friends that are playing the same game or like you get to work together with to become a better player or just, learn a little bit more. And that's something that I think is not hit in quite the same way in other esports. Now, sometimes it's just like a lack of grassroots events or a lack of ecosystem at that level, or just maybe not necessarily having the same foundation. But yeah, the Pokemon is so special for that, and I'm so happy that we have cultivated such a community.
And I wasn't trying to get you, Rose. I was genuinely interested in, because you've covered so many other esports. Like, you've done like the Overwatch finals. Like I think there was like what, Toronto or something, like you casted that, and then but you've also been to like China and Spain and TFT. Like, so I was just trying to gauge your interest. I wasn't trying to get you in trouble.
I love the games that hire me. Thank you for hiring me and thank you for having me. I will continue to work your games as long as you have me.
I am taking notes for my own career on how to get picked up and kept by games. Now, Pokemon, I think, is really cool because, like, the same thing that you mentioned with like the locals and like the other games not necessarily maybe having grassroots. I think Pokemon's really unique in that way too. That like it can be you next. Whereas like I love Valorant, for example. That doesn't mean that I can attend a local Valorant event, pop off, and then win champions. Like it's not a realistic path to pro. But you see people in Pokemon that'll, oh, well, I've just played online for draft stuff. Now I'm going to an event and I'm going to win it. Justin Tang, like
Yeah.
you, Montana Mott, someone who's been in locals, like just wins it. PatCon. Oh, this is known in the local scene, goes to all this locals. First international wins it, right? You can't have that in like most other games. Like I dare say, like any other games. Like there's not that same window to get involved. I can't qualify for Valorant champions by having an insane ranked run online, but you can qualify for the world championships by being a demon at your local scene and like being able to then play these global challenges. And it actually still puts you at a level to where you can go to an event and beat Wolf Glick. Like Kylan hasn't won a world, but like Kylan beat Wolf Glick. Like that can be like and I think that's another thing too, what makes the community so special, as well as like following along with like where it was into where it's now. You look at the past world championships and the past locals and how small the game was, especially for VG, to then now where things are, which I think makes it like even more special with all of this. I think that's just like a really cool part of the game.
think that's why I like TFT also, is because you can have those breakout stories, just continuing the conversation with what we see in Pokemon. You can be at the top of the TFT ladder, and that qualifies you instantly to be able to participate in the regional championships. And then if you do well enough there, you get to go to Worlds. Like, how cool is that? That you have that one path for yourself, that maybe you're not full-time TFT, but you can still make it there and you could win. We've had the legendary runs by people that have been lesser known, but if you put in the work and you find that community and you find that group that you can study with, you could be a world champion. And I think that's very parallel to what we see in Pokemon. And it's just cool. Like, I love those very heartwarming stories that it was somebody that is having a breakout.
Is this why so many VGC players play TFT? Because
There's
it's literally the same.
Crossover. It's a great question.
Crossover.
But think about when TFT first started, right? Like Wolf was up in Masters, and Wolf was streaming, and Wolf was.
I casted an event with Wolf.
Exactly.
You know that?
The lore.
Yes, I remember this. Aaron Zhang was in Masters for like the first 3 or 4 sets. Our friend Len Duel is like in Masters every set in TFT. There's so many players. We even did a little grassroots event back during COVID for TFT that Len and I did commentary for of TFT. It was all VGC players, and there is something in our brains. There's something about like trying to figure out that Raging Bolt calc is like the same thing as like, okay, I'm on level 8. Should I level to 9 or should I roll down for my 2-star? Like the same whatever itch is being scratched, whatever the phrase is. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but something about TNT Pokemon. Like
I think it actually boils down to a couple of things. Like what you're saying with being able to mitigate risk and also odds and probability, making sure that you're not going to actually be victim to a low roll, but you're also still finding ways to capitalize and maximize the strength of your board in real time. But we're also all gamblers. So, you know, who doesn't love being able to roll their golden hit?
You're not wrong, but like, you don't have to do us like that.
So who doesn't love hitting their precipice blades or their origin pulses?
We do enjoy a good casino run at the regionals or at the internationals. The real question, though, why not? The real question is because we've seen in the Chinese version of Pokemon Unite, I've seen online. The question is, are we dropping VG when this if one day Pokemon TFT comes out? Are we? Is it?
No, you can do multiple titles.
I can't play both. I only have one Switch, Sierra. They're both on the Switch.
How do you only have one Switch? I have 3. Like, what are you doing, dude?
I still have the same Switch from March of 2017.
You didn't get the OLED when it came out? Do you not have like the brighter, nicer looking screen?
Wow, you're actually trolling, Joe. You should get the OLED.
Yeah. Well, at this point, don't, because like Switch 2, but like you're throwing, like that's actually crazy.
Okay, so here's the question: how excited are we about a theoretical potential one day down the line Pokemon TFT, Pokemon Auto Chess, I should say?
I have been begging for this. Like, I have asked every single deity, like Arceus. Please, for the love of Arceus, like, can we get a Pokemon Auto Chess? Because it's right there. Oh my god, it's right there. The traits are the Pokemon types, or like a basket. Like the trait webs are so easy. And then how easy is it to like 1-star, 2-star, 3-star? Charmander is 3 Evos. You've got legendary units that are easily 5 costs. Yep. Like, come on, it's like right there.
Right. If you work at Pokemon, close your ears. But like there is an unofficial Pokemon Auto Chess, and I have sunk so many hours into it before moving to TFT because the client sucks.
Can't touch it.
It's actually crazy. It's like I played it for 31 hours straight. You might think that's a joke. It is not.
No, she did this actually.
I did.
She did not sleep. She did not eat. She only played.
Yeah. I would get up for like 2-3 minutes max at a time to use the washroom or grab a snack, and that is it. I gamed for 31 hours straight on this chess. Yeah, wow. Like
that's
so
impressive.
bad.
That's impressive and sad at the same time, you know.
I had a friend join me who played for 24 hours straight, so you know, so I wasn't alone.
Oh, so at least you're not a loser? Is that what you're saying?
If you're a loser, someone else is doing it. I'm just, you know. Oh yeah, I just please.
Goodness.
I need it, please.
Yeah.
I've spent so much time on TFT. I will spend this time on the Pokemon Auto Chess Unite. Please just bring it to us.
Yeah, like I don't want to spend 200 hours on a chibi in League, but give me a little chibi Psyduck or something. A little,
my
little
God.
chibi Charizard. I'm dropping the money. I'm dropping it.
Oh, or like stadium boards. Do you know how like hard those would go if you could make different arenas based on gyms in games or like Elite Four? I don't know. You got this. It's right there.
It's right there.
Please.
It's right there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It is so bad. Please unite. I'm on their broadcast this weekend. I will send out a very heartfelt
congratulations, Sierra.
Thank you. I'm gonna send out a heartfelt like plea on the broadcast. They're like, cut this from air, get her off. And I'm like, guys, you'll make so much. I'm like, George, just trust me on this. You'll make so much. Don't even translate it. We'll use translators. Like, just give us the mode, please.
You know, the good thing is that Pokemon look the same no matter what language you're playing.
That's true.
So.
There's already docs like translating all the names, so it's like you're like, okay, what does Pikachu do? Okay, and then you just like go off memory. Like we love memorizing things.
You make the point with like 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, like right before Ray, so they can't cut it out, like because everybody's watching. Like you're like, oh, by the way, Pokemon Auto Chess, yes, please.
They're going into this Ray pit just like I would go all in on this Pokemon Auto Chess that they have in the Chinese version of Unite. Bring it to NA, and we can show you what they can do, just like this NAT. I don't know, like there's something there.
She's already plotted it. Look at this.
Yeah. We got this. Teamwork.
For legal reasons, Pokemon, this is a joke. Don't cut me from the broadcast. I'm very excited to be there. But like, please also just bring Unite. Pokemon Auto Chess. I don't know. I need it. Please.
Just do it so I don't have to threaten to say it, you know? That's basically what just happened here.
It's for the good. It's for the good. But yeah, it's a tough one. But if there's not anything else about this, there was a regional this weekend for VGC.
True.
That we can give a little chat about, because Joe, I also know that you have a hard out in like 30-ish minutes.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Stockholm regional champions over the weekend. I personally did not watch because, again, we've talked about my degenerate gaming. I am on that degenerate gaming schedule, so I was not awake during a single moment of when this regional took place. So Joe Brown, you might be a little bit better suited to lead this conversation.
All right. So Senor Kelsch, aka Michael Kelsch, back to back. We don't see it too often. Wolf did it with Orlando 2 years in a row as the regional champion, but Michael Kelsch winning the 2025 Stockholm Regional Championships. And I think there's a lot of conversations we could have here, team, because it's obviously Kelsch is one of the greatest players in the world. He's proven that over the last 2.5 years, right? Ever since he started playing in Scarlet and Violet. But he also did it with a hard Trick Room team. And there's conversations like, oh, the hard Trick Room only worked because he's so great. And then it's like, oh, are you discrediting all the other people that have had strong accomplishments with hard Trick Room? And it's like, well, they didn't win because they're not Michael Kelsch. Like, I've seen a lot of narratives going online, guys. So let's just start specifically. We can talk about how fantastic of a player that he is. But with this team, this Calyrex Ice team with Torkoal, Indeedee Female, Raging Bolt, or Shifu, the single strike variant of it. Thank you, Sierra. And Smeargle. That also throws another wrinkle into this conversation on what people enjoy about Michael winning with this team. So we'll start with you, Rosemary, as the guest. What are your thoughts on Michael Kelsch's victory here and his team?
Well, first of all, congratulations, because Miki's amazing. It's definitely not a surprise to see Miki actually win another regional championship. But it's like looking in a mirror. You look at the finals of Stockholm, and let's rewind to Vancouver, where the finals was between a hard Trick Room piloted by Alejandro Terrazas, who was working with Diego Ferreira, which was one of the best performing hard Trick Room teams at Worlds.
Right, top 4 at Worlds, yeah.
Exactly. And Lunala in the finals. I'm just saying, like, hard Trick Room definitely had a place, and I don't think that this is super unexpected given how well Alejandro had just done with a very similar looking team.
I gotta say, like, the congratulations part, because Yeah, winning an event at any, like, capacity, amazing. I'm sure Trick Room doing great is great for a lot of people. It is not great for me personally. Um, I'm a Trick Room not enjoyer. I don't like Trick Room. I don't like playing up against it. It is so frustrating. I can't play it either. So I can't even like, you know what, like hate it and like become it. Nope. So like congratulations. But like, oh my god, Choice Spectacle hits like a truck. Oh my god, like decorate Spore Smeargle. That's so annoying. Like every part of this team looks obnoxious to go up against, which is why it won, because this is like there's a lot of great pieces here, but like it's like the professional, like, oh, this is really cool that Trick Room's doing all this good stuff with the personal, like, oh my gosh, I just hate this extreme architect, like
Okay,
personally.
can we actually talk about that for a second? Why are all of the teams now so annoying? They're like Smeargle and Screamtail on literally every team in Stockholm. And I'm like, who decided that you wanted to make the game unfun for everybody else?
You're not you're not wrong. I do think it is a question of like, even we go back to like the chalk days and the big 6 days, right? Like things that are frustrating for a reason, and that reason is usually they're effective. So Smeargle is not frustrating just because it's a silly little painting bro. It's frustrating because of what Smeargle actually does. And you look at this, Michael, like the Indeedee female on this team. It's different from Vancouver, where Indeedee was there with Lunala with Expanding Force, right, to do a little pseudo size spam. Calyrex Ice does not have a psychic attack. It's close combat in that second attack there. There's no other psychic attack on the team for Indeedee to be boosting up with terrain. So this is a purely defensive anti priority attack synergy from Indeedee here. And so even though, yes, like Urshifu, we know how strong it is, but Urshifu that you can't touch because Smeargle has Follow Me, and you can't touch because Indeedee has Follow Me, and then a Torkoal. Okay, Torkoal does a lot of damage, but Torkoal with the choice specs and a helping hand from the Indeedee is one-shotting water types. You know, like there is a crossover between frustration and effectiveness, and that's why it feels like same with Wolf winning with Screamtail. Like it's only frustrating because it's actually an effective strategy.
I have PTSD from Smeargle.
Yes.
I quit playing the game for a couple years because Smeargle with Dark Void was one of the most frustrating strategies to play against. It's like, oh, my Pokemon are asleep. I guess I just don't get to play this video game now, I suppose. And I think similarly here, you look at Screamtail's usage, you look at, like, I played against a Smeargle with Transform in the Global Challenge. And I was like, I guess you just have a Shadow Rider Calyrex now that's boosted. Congratulations to you, because I didn't think that you would have this. But Decorate makes sense here. I still hate Screamtail. I'm sure we'll talk about that later, but I think overall, this team and Hard Trick Room in general is actually a very difficult strategy to get to work. I think especially with how a lot of people sometimes opt to play Trick Room, it seems very linear. Get the Trick Room up, use the Trick Room turns. Maybe you get a second Trick Room. But especially when you look at this team, oh, Indeedee has Psychic Terrain. Well, Urshifu can no longer go for Sucker Punch. Or
Raging Bolt, no Thunderclap.
Exactly. And so I think you have to really think about where these pieces are coming in at a specific time. And similarly with Screamtail, the people that we've seen use it to the greatest levels of success are some of the absolute best balance players and VGC players in the entire world. And that's because it takes a lot of skill to position these pieces at the right time. I don't know if Eric would ever get as far as he did if he wasn't one of the best players in the entire world. Or even just Smeargle or Ogerpon with Follow Me is not an easy thing to execute. You have to know when to get those Pokemon in at the right time to actually give you that advantage by having the Follow Me available. So, Hard Trick Room, I think, is a viable strategy now, but it has to be in the absolute right hands to actually win. And Miki's are the right hands.
I definitely think there's a thing where like some of these teams, like the Trick Room, Size Spam, etc., are just easy teams to pick up at a linear, I will play this level and have a decent amount of success because the team itself is easy. Like when I started playing VG, the first team I was given way back Series 5 Sword and Shield was Talonflame Cinderace. okay, first turn, I click the Tailwind and the Cinderace. I Dynamax that, Gigantamax that, and I hit the do a lot of damage button. Simple as that. And I would get to Master Ball, like, I would win matches because, oh, well, it's just strong. That doesn't mean I'm ever gonna win a regional with that because, like, it's not that level, but for someone learning the game, I can then execute this plan to the point where I can win battles. And I think of the same thing with, like, Size Spam and Trick Room at its core. If you are a decent player and you just click Trick Room and your opponent's at the same level as you, they're gonna lose. Size Spam, you're playing against someone same skill level, you click Size Spam, they lose. But then to actually play it at a top level against the top trainers that have tools on their team, they know how to also wait out the turns, they know how to, like, manipulate the situation to play out your Trick Room and take away your pieces. I think then to play Trick Room at the highest level is so impressive. It reminds me too of, like, why we don't see more people pick up, like, Perish Song, for example, because at its core, okay, well, you trap them, you click Perish Song, and there's gonna be some people that works against at the core. But you play up against somebody who's, like, knows more of the game or has tools on the team, it's no longer works, and then goes into the other pieces on the team, how to utilize it, how to properly manage your resources, which is then really, really cool. So I love even seeing the pieces on this team when you talk about the Sucker Punch, the Priority, the Thunderclap, but then obviously there's conflicting pieces, but they're used in a harmonious way. Like, it's I don't know, it's just really, really cool. So that's where I'll definitely give, like, a lot of credit and why I think, like, Trick Room and Size Man maybe has a bad name where I don't think it really should be discounted as, like, a bad strategy because it obviously can be played at a really good level.
I think a really good example of also why Miki necessarily like needs to have the skill level as well is look at the top cut of Stockholm and look at how many people have Rillaboom on their team. There's so many ways to actually take away the terrain from the Indeedee or something else where I guess you just simply don't have priority blocking anymore. You can get faked out. You still have to play a 50-50 sometimes of whether or not it's going to be the Indeedee or the Calyrex. It actually does set the Trick Room if you go in that direction. But you also have ways to go out on the offense. What if you just go Torkoal Raging Bolt? Then you're also just going to KO a lot of things that are pretty helpful in the meta, but you also don't want to set the Torkoal for the Heatrans or the Ogerpon Hearthflame or any of the other photosynthesis Pokemon. And so I think that just speaks to another level of skill that Miki has to be able to use these pieces in a way that also isn't giving up too much to his opponents to utilize as well.
Yeah, I think to me with Trick Room or Size Spam in general, I know they tend to get linked. They get linked together a lot. Like people say it one because of how the generation first started with Armarouge and Didi, right? Being both a Trick Room and Size Spam team. So often they aren't really the same strategy, but they are linked together. But one thing that I think one thing that frustrates people with it is like, oh, you just click Trick Room in one. Oh, you just click Expanding Force in one. Is it's true to say both the skill ceiling and floor are very varied with the Trick Room or Size Spam team. Like, it's not like the barrier for entry is very low that someone just learning the game could cheese out victories, quote unquote. But also, it's also sometimes harder to win with a hard Trick Room team simultaneously as it is you just win certain matchups, right? And that is what's so difficult throughout this generation, throughout the history of VGC, for people preparing for those types of teams, where compared to, like you can have the same conversation with Dondozo or other things where you can't have that with Perish Song because the skill floor for a Perish Trap team is nowhere near as low as the skill floor of a Size Spam or a hard Trick Room team. And the skill ceiling is the same. Like, if the ceiling is can win an event with this team, like, they're both up here, but you got to be this good to even try Perish Trap, but you got to be just down here to try to get in on Size Spam. And the other thing I noticed on Michael Kelch's team is he has 2 Terra Grasses and a safety goggles on Raging Bull. And this is Europe we're talking about, guys. This is the land of Amoonguss, home of Amoonguss over here. 24.4% on day 1, 24.5% Amoonguss on day 2. And so that's where you really, we have to understand the regional variants, and I ain't talking Paldean Tauros. I'm talking about VGC regional variants here, in the way that European players love Rillaboom, love the Amoonguss, and having to prepare for this type of event in Stockholm compared to, say, if Michael Couch came over to America to play at the Atlanta regionals.
You're talking about Land of the Amoonguss, and like I just got to bring this up because we'll talk about Rios in the other top 4 in a moment, right? Like I'm not disrespecting that, but you're talking Land of the Amoonguss, and Boyd rolls up with a freaking brute bonnet and tops force the event with this photosynthesis stuff. You got the Heatran, you got Walking Wake. I also hate this Pokemon. Like it's like this is crazy stuff coming out from Boyd. Life Orb Koraidon. I know he was so like keyed on this way before Wolf won with it and was like, I told you guys. And then he's finally be able to show like he can like, yep, top cut with this Pokemon. It's good. Like, this just cracks me up.
He effectively has 3 fire types with Koraidon and 3 Paradox Pokemon that use the sun, right? Like he is all in on one strategy. You can see how it worked out that well to get top 4 with just like one specific strategy.
This team is awesome. I also love Jamie as a player. I think it tickles me every single time to see that he comes out of the retirement home like every so events, and then he comes in and he gets a top cut or like a top 32 or like a top 4 here, and I'm like, wow, just major credit, because I think it's so difficult to actually pull off, and this is like this is like a Jamie team, like chef's kiss. Like I love seeing Jamie teams, and this is certainly one of them.
You say Jamie teams and you're talking retirement home, and I'm just thinking like oh yeah, Life Orb Koraidon's the best Koraidon. Okay, Gramps, go take your meds. Like it's okay. Oh my goodness. I mean,
listen,
so
this team does not have a single Terra Grass or a safety goggles, because you would have to be a madman to bring a Amoonguss against this team that Jamie is bringing. So why would you even need to cover for Amoonguss if you know all 6 of your
Oh
Pokemon
my god, it's Zoom Lens Heatran, guys.
It is.
Listen, missed too many Magma Storms. It was probably like, leftovers or something at first, and then he missed one too many Magma Storms in testing. It's like, you know what?
It's Boyd. It was never a normal item. It was never. Let's just be real. Respect though. Like what I think I love about Boyd's team so much is like it answers every question that I had when I like joined VGC. This move misses. Okay, then put something on it that makes it not miss as much.
He did have the same conversation with when he was on the Superior train, when everybody was going off on Superior thinking it was going to be the next big deal. He also said, why would you have a 90% accurate move when you can have a 99% accurate?
It just makes sense. Pokemon math. I love it. This team is amazing. Walking Wake, kudos for top 4 with that. My issue with Walking Wake, because I played Walking Wake as soon as it came out, I thought it was like awesome. It never kills anything and it always dies. I was playing Life Orb instead of Choice Spec, so I could like switch moves around and stuff. But like, I'm like, okay, I have the sun. I've Terrassalized. Surely I get this KO with the KO and I just get one shot in return. And it's like, this game is no longer fun. Like I am not enjoying that. So I have not enjoyed Walking Wake past that. So to actually like pop off, have this like Terra Water Toy Sex build is super, super well done. And Brute Bonnet is just still crazy.
I still believe that the past Paradox Pokemon have the coolest designs. As soon as I saw Walking Wakes, I could not wait to use that Pokemon, but I had the same problem as you, Sierra. I cannot get this Pokemon for the life of me to look good. It doesn't ever do what I want it to do. It just looks cool on the field for one turn, and then it gets knocked out.
And the biggest Terra hog of all time, because you don't deal damage or live anything if you don't Terra, and then you don't kill anything or live even if you do Terra.
So bad.
So bad. So bad.
But I do like this team with relatively low speed control besides the Icy Wind on Fluttermane, which like 1, it can miss, and 2, you're not clicking Icy Wind that often. Is that like Jamie is probably beholden to a lot of his opponent's strategies with either Trick Room or Tailwind, and he's ready for it. Imagine running to Scarf Chiyu and Booster Energy Fluttermane, like at the, I know he's photosynthesis with the sun up. Like, those are crazy fast mons that can still hit you really hard. Or you can, if you want to go into Trick Room, all right, we got a Brutbonic Heatran strategy that they can handle in the Trick Room sense. So Walking Wake and Crydon are also really fast. Like, so I do think it is impressive to be so honed in on one specific skill. Like, I'm going to use a lot of fire types and Pokemon that take advantage of the sun being up. But like, he probably had to be very reactionary in this tournament to get in the right spot, because there's not taunt, there's not a lot of ways to stop your opponent's strategy. He probably had to, like, no, you're stuck in here with me, kind of that style of strategy to win.
Well, that's why we have Zoom Lens Heatran with Magma Storm, because you truly are stuck in here with me now, aren't you?
Hey, Rosemary knows about a little Magma Storm Heatran. Just throw it out there. Caster Battle, LAIC. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, well,
you've been waiting to get that in, haven't you? You've had that written on a sticky note in front of you. Like, make sure I can mention I beat her with Heatran at LAIC.
You, Joe. So
I'm sorry. Listen, everybody calls it the Pheasantipity team, as I'm still the only person to win on stream with Pheasantipity, by the way. But it was really a Heatran team that had Pheasantipity on it.
That is true. And I think I think you can also kind of look at that, I wouldn't say like totally with this team, but the fact that the Heatran does actually enable a lot of the strategy in my mind, it's so cool. I think this is like a Koraidon team with Heatran, and then Brutbonnet, Chiyu, Walking Wake, and Flutter are also there. So
they're just there for the style points.
Heatran's been picking up though in usage. I know, going back to the last Global Challenge, or Alex Underhill was using that team. This Terrapagos Heatran Cornerstone core that Mateo got top 4 with at this event, like Heatran, the people have been complaining like there's not a lot of great ground types, right? Ground users. That's what lets Koraidon run rampant, or lets a Raging Bolt or Iron Hands run rampant. And so Heatran's like, no ground types, you say? My 4 times of weakness is no longer relevant. Okay, I'll come right back in here.
This is the team you were talking about. Also, so it has your favorite Pokemon, Heatran. Also has Rose's favorite Pokemon, Screamtail.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about our love for Cornerstone, because Rosemary and I do love.
Well, I mean, that's our favorite Pokemon.
That's our.
But yeah, geez, Screamtail. Oh my god. I'm gonna have nightmares of this Pokemon. Also, I just think that Encore Disable is so unbelievably unfun to play around, and Screamtail is so bloody fast. Like good luck. It's fast. It's bulky. What are you gonna do to the Screamtail before it Encore disables you?
And it's bulky.
Little. What you gonna do?
It's fast and bulky. It doesn't die.
That's what I mean, right? Like, you can't even one-shot it. Well, I think there's like a couple things that can do that, and maybe it's a heavy slam angle from the Heatran that actually does help you to deal with a lot of opposing Screamtail. I've not done the calc on that one, but that doesn't seem like an awful strategy, or double it or whatever. But the best Screamtail players have the patience of they have immense patience. They just know exactly when to bring in the Screamtail at the right time. Eric was a perfect execution of this as well. It wasn't even just Mateo that had that Screamtail, it was also Eric. And watching his sets in Top Cut, he would never win those if he mispositions the Screamtail. Ever. And so, major credit to him, especially being able to get to the finals with, an incredible late game Screamtail play, to be able to pin his opponent with Dazzling Gleam as well as another move. I just think it was so well executed, and also having to deal with another Pokemon that requires a great amount of positioning. We saw this with Besa's win in Vancouver, but the Lunala as well has sometimes felt like a liability with just the typing that it has. But Eric showing it has a perfect moment in the meta right now.
Yeah, I love that we get to see the continuation of it. It's not just Bezat in Vancouver to then win, and it's like, oh, okay, this Pokemon's fluky. Because, it's like, there is like obviously that conversation when a Pokemon that we never really expected to win an event wins. Like, okay, did the stars just align here, right? Obviously, they played phenomenally. That's not to take away from the run, but it's like, okay, now do it again to like show the legitimacy of this Pokemon. It is not just a you difference. It's not just you're cracked with this Pokemon and the Pokemon's bad. Because like there's sometimes people out there want tricks, right? But for the team to then get like a lot of respect and for Rios to run it and like then get second place, I think just shows like I know like there's a lot of conflicting feelings about Reg G, but I think the one safe thing to say is that there's still things to discover in Pokemon that have very much so been disrespected from the get-go that people are revisiting, and it's a format that is not very solved in that sort of way, which is crazy when we're getting more to the tail end of it for a Lunala now to really be, like, popping up, and we get to see it back-to-back events.
To your point, Sierra, about proving that a Pokemon can work, I love that Wolf won EUIC with Koraidon. And then a couple weeks later, we've got Fortaleza, and we see Bruno actually win with Koraidon as well. And now we see Baysod win with Lunala, and now it gets second with Eric Rios at Stockholm. And I think you're right. Like, I do think that Reg G Part 2 has been so much more interesting than Reg G Part 1. I think everyone has gotten over the fact that Miraidon is the most broken Pokemon in the format, and there's actually other things that can be viable. Even Terapagos, the wheels turning back around where Terapagos is starting to be good again, even though it had left the atmosphere. It was not like even remotely around at the first part of part 2 of Regulation G. Wasn't top cutting events. It was starting to do really well. I mean, Aurelian Sula got second at the North America International Championships in Reg G of last year, but then like where did it go? Like it went away. And so you look at the top cut of Stockholm and it's so diverse. It is so diverse. There is a different restricted Pokemon for every team in the top 8 outside of Shadow Rider Calyrex. When have we seen that before?
Yeah. Like, I think my biggest complaint with the regulation is it seems very matchup roulette-y with just the one restricted, because you pair up against the restricted that's bad. You're a little cooked, right? Like, I don't like that aspect of the regulation, and I think that's my biggest pain point and why I don't necessarily enjoy playing this format as much as I would like to. But I will say that in terms of following the meta and everything else, that it's been really fun as, like, a caster and a commentator, because then it's like you're constantly having to, like, reevaluate what you think of this meta. Like that you have to reevaluate Lunala's place then. You got to reevaluate these restricted. Koraidon, which was so bad before. Okay, well now it's really good. So why? And then seeing like how everything else kind of shifts around that. I think that's just been like so interesting. It as a caster, I love it. As a player, I would certainly not enjoy it too much, but I do think that it's a really good sign for those that like love the team building or want to like break outside of the mold. I think this has been a really good meta and like a really good format for those people, because there's definitely formats where you try and break a mold and like no shot. Like you're fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, I think this is in one of the arguments in favor. I'm not saying we should go back to the year long formats, but it has been 5 years of rotating formats. So there's a hefty portion of the player base of the community that has not experienced what our old year-long formats used to be. And yes, sometimes they're clunkers, right? Sometimes they're a little frustrating. Like we want to move on from Big Six. I wish Spear Girl was banned. I wish we had a new format to get rid of Xerneas or whatever. But other years, or it shows the evolution. Like Reg G 2.0 has given us 8 months of this format instead of the usual 3 or 4, and it shows that over time, it's not just going to be Miraidon and friends winning for 8 consecutive months like people thought once Rajan won that first event back last, what was that, in Indianapolis, right? Am I right?
Yeah, Indy.
Yeah, right. And so that's what I liked about the old formats, that like within the same rule sets, people were still innovating to this point where it was like, oh my God, Miraidon's so busted, to literally one Miraidon in top 8 here. And you talk about like, Terapagos going non-existent and now coming back. If you want to speak of non-existent, Rose, Zamazenta didn't even make the graphic. Tom Winter, that was the one Zamazenta in day 2 of the entire tournament in Stockholm. Zamazenta went from like clear top cut, like maybe third best restricted, like Michael Kelsch's home dog Zamazenta that he was using in every event to absolutely dominate the format, to literally one person in day 2. And shout outs to Tom for getting 9th with it. Well, you got replaced by Eternatus on the graphic, bro. What happened to Zamazenta? It's the same format.
Yeah, I do think that Zamazenta suffers from the problem that a lot of Lunala builds had, where I think you look at how much support Zamazenta provides to a team, and then you go, is that good enough? And Zamazenta, with a lot of its offense relying on its defensive capabilities, you've got body press. How many Lunala and Shadow Rider Calyrex do you see in this top cut?
Let me.
That's 3 of them, right?
In all of Top Cut and
in
all of Top 20,
more.
There's a lot of Pokemon.
Another Lunala.
It's like 7 of top 20 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe 8.
And I think as well, when Zamazenta is also a Terra Hog, like some of the other restricteds that we see, it doesn't often have a good terrestrialization that actually gets it out of the woods. How many Terra Dragon have we seen? This one's Terra Grass, and then all of a sudden you go Terra Grass and you're weak to Chi-Yu, Ogerpon, Hearthflame, Summon Cineroar, now running Flare Blitz.
You're weak to Boit's entire
Yeah,
team.
Yeah,
Boit
exactly. Like, and then you face Boit and you cry. Like I think Zamazenta is another one of those that in the rotating wheel of what we've seen do well in Regulation G right now, definitely not it. And I think if you look at Atlanta, it might not even be Shadow Rider Calyrex. It's actually towards the top tables. There's quite a few in this particular top 20 for Stockholm, but is it gonna stay that way? Now that I see Shadow Rider Calyrex, I go, maybe there's more Ice Rider Calyrex, or I see a lot of Trick Room. Do I play into that, or do I try to go a little bit more hyper offense?
I love Zamazenta's like evolution and de-evolution, because of course for Sword and Shield, it was like Zamazenta sucks. Zacian stocks like way up, right? Like no ifs, ands, or buts. Like if you're running Zamazenta, you're just a fool back in Sword and Shield. Like I'm sorry, you're going up against the mold, and that mold's breaking you. And then we get into Reg G, and then Zacian's like massively struggled, and then Zamazenta, after being discredited a smidge at the beginning, was like, oh my gosh, like Zamazenta is amazing. And then now Zamazenta is just like up again. And it's just like really, really funny. Like obviously, like it's not like it's really being replaced in Zacian when we're looking at like best of 3 tournaments and stuff. But Zacian did get second in the most recent global challenge. So it's at least doing good in that scopes. And I think if a Pokemon's getting beaten out by Eternatus, I mean, like, I put in Eternatus in like the same spot that I put Lunala before Vancouver. Like, I don't see the vision. I think I got to pull up the scene, because like this is like, we also see Tinkaton in Vancouver, which was also really cool. Araquanid is a Pokemon that people mess around with, but like, I just like Eternatus, I don't see the vision too much. Like kudos on the fantastic finish of Stockholm, but I just don't see the vision. Like I just don't get it.
Awesome. You've got
It's so cool
Wave with the synergy next to Tinkaton. And if you know your Tinkaton calcs, then this Pokemon is going to do a stupid amount of damage for you. If you don't know your Tinkaton calcs, then I think you see a lot of the clips that we saw from Justin Tang where Tinkaton does nothing for you, or it feels like it just really lacks in the damage. But yeah, this team is so cool. And I really love the Araquanid pick here. I think Water Bubble as an ability is super underexplored. Araquanid is a very slow Pokemon. If you notice that there's going to be a lot of Trick Room, then not only do you have Araquanid, which is going to be a great Pokemon to have into things like Ice Rider Calyrex, it also has it has Wide Guard. It's got Liquidation. Like there's actually some really cool tech on this particular Pokemon that I think makes this team worthy of being in day 2.
I'm looking more over the team, and I'm starting to understand the vision a little bit more. So I'm not hating as much.
Sierra's cooking. She's figuring it out.
No. Sandra's cooking. Like, so you're bringing up the Tinkaton first, right? So first you have the Fake Out or you have the Feint. So you can't protect in front of the Choice Specs, Terra Poison, Sludge Wave. Devastating. Fluttermane comes in, or like you have Fluttermane, Terra Steel Fluttermane, and you can literally just Icy Wind to slow everything down. So your Terra, well, I guess not Terra Poison at that point, you only get one, but your Poison Eternatus with Choice Specs Sludge Waves everything else, and it doesn't then hit the Fluttermane. Like,
and then Fluttermane gets knocked out, and Tinkaton comes in as a steel type, and you Sludge Wave next to Tinkaton too.
And then, unfortunately, they both get knocked out, and your Ogre Pond Hearthflame comes in, and you self KO it. But hopefully, at that point, you've done enough momentum and everything else that you just take the match. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't see like the vision in terms of how it matches up in the other restricted, but this is definitely like on paper a really cool team, and I like all those little like, okay, so I'm going to do this so that I could do this, and I respect that. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I love the. Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I love the Arachnid. I've tried to make it work. I remember back in Regulation F, I was building a team with Lee, and like we were building a Trick Room team, and like Arachnid felt really good. It stops the spread attacks. But back in Reg F, the issue was Raging Bolt. It's just Raging Bolt was such a really bad matchup for Arachnid, just being on teams that it was hard to exist in the format. And now we put Raging Bolt on steroids with Miraidon in the format, and it's also tough to use Arachnid when 20% of people have Miraidon on their teams.
But it's resistant to fighting, so you got a
great
body
special
press
defense also.
Yeah,
Incredible
it's gonna
special
resist
defense.
ice. So Shadow Ice Rider Calyrex is not nearly as much of a threat. Water Bubble's gonna help you against all of those fire types as well. And so Arachnid actually has some really good defensive capability that makes it a really strong threat in the meta at the moment. I also just wanted to call out, how many steel type Pokemon do you see in this day 2? Because I'm looking around and I see Heatran.
I just see a lot of Sludge Wave food.
Kind of it. Yeah, exactly. Like, especially Cornerstone Ogre Pond, hit it with the Icy Wind and the Sludge Wave, and you don't have an Ogre Pond anymore.
No, don't talk about our girl that way, Rose.
I know that, but you know, it's like with how much Focus Sash is here as well, I feel like this is a really great team to have like that spread damage. And then how many teams do you see also having wide guard access? A lot of Lunala have dropped it. So instead of having that support capability, that also doesn't really exist on the one. Like, we have it on the Zamazenta, but also like, how many Zamazenta do you see? It's tough out here. Wide guard is really difficult, I think, as a move to actually buy into when you know that you need that slot and you're restricted for something else.
I also just love, like, you can bring the Eternatus next to the Fluttermane or the Tinkaton into Miraidon, and if they Terra Fairy, then you're like, haha, take the Sludge Wave. And if they don't, well, then they have to take a Play Rough or a Moonblast. So it's just like the amount of Terra Fairies and Terra Grass that we have in the format is really, really cool and like with this. So yeah, I know Joe Brown has to go soon. So it was a great conversation about Stockholm and everything else in that meta. But there was still another event that we have to quickly talk about, and that is the Global Challenge. I feel like there's a Global Challenge every weekend at this point. I don't know.
It does feel that way.
I've expressed how I felt before about playing the Global Challenges personally. Is I play 3 matches, I feel on top of the world. I play the 4th, it is some nonsense closed team sheet stuff. I get bodied. I'm no longer having fun. I've then just spent an hour of my life and all my resources building a team that I will not play for the rest of the weekend. So I did not partake personally. But kudos to those who did, and it's going to be Joji Kaida to win I believe a second now like Global Challenge. So like huge congratulations there. And with a little bit of a drum roll here is with Miraidon. Yippee!
Yeah.
Joe UX9's Miraidon team.
Yeah.
So same one. That's the one that Joe got top 16 in Vancouver with, right?
This was also his Worlds team. No, yeah. This is his Worlds team, if I'm recalling correctly. So it didn't have the greatest showing at Worlds, but something that he's been playing and trucking along with. He also used it at LA. We got to see it up against Burns on broadcast with the Ditto, because they both had Ditto and were doing like some shenanigans. So yeah,
I could see some shenanigans in a best of 1 in the closed team sheet of GC with the Ditto. You let the Volcarona get out of control, right? You let Grimmsnarl get, be a menace. I could see it. I could see it working.
Yeah, I think that it's a nasty team to go up against, best of one. I think just Miraidon in general, like you have the screens with Grimmsnarl to like make it so you're not taking a bunch of cheese from the the opposing team. You can dish out a bunch of damage, and if they do have cheese, then you can just bring in the Ditto. So I think super balanced overall. But talking about second place team, Peru, I was talking about Zacian. They have a little team report up, which I cannot read. But I recognize these Pokemon. And yeah, Zacian sucks. Let's go.
This is
Zacian
actually
is
pretty cool.
crazy. Like I don't know if when you said it, I was like, are you sure that there was a Zacian in the second position at the global challenge? And then I opened up the team sheet and I went, that sure is a Zacian. And I got second place at the global challenge because it just sounds like such a wild concept, especially after the thought of Zacian has just been so low comparatively to the rest of the other single restricteds to build around. I don't know necessarily how much of this was Zacian actually being powerful or Zacian filling a Tinkaton role that people have started to really pick up on and actually having similar typing coverage alongside the fact you've got Dragonite and Tinglu and just really powerful Pokemon alongside the Zacian.
Yeah, I like the Tinglu here a lot because a lot of times, as someone who's been testing out Zacian with our community, right, trying to build a team, like sometimes the Shadow Ball just does just a little too much damage, or the Thunderbolt from Raging Bolt just does a little too much damage, even though we're invested into our special defense, right? So having Tinglu there, like it's not for super effective hits. You're still gonna get boned by a Chi-Yu flamethrower or something, right? Like you're still screwed there. But for the neutral hits into Zacian, when you build it bulky, having Tinglu make it a little bit more manageable. And you look at the only Pelipper is the only special attacker on the team, so you don't have to worry about like hindering your own damage output. You got Urshifu crit and Incineroar physical attack, Dragonite physical attacker, right? So I do think in the best of one sense, this is a tough team to know. Like you have one chance to lead the 4 proper Pokemon. Like you better get it right. Also, Pelipper helps against the fire weakness for Zacian too with the rain.
Yeah, then looking at the third place team. The team itself hasn't been posted, but that was Calyrex Shadow Rider. 24-1. So really doing I'm not playing all the games. I've just got to win the ones that I do play. Strategy, respect. And then in fourth place, Slow. We do have a team for that one. And we get to see some Xian Pao. Also, this guy.
Sinistra.
Yep.
And if you actually scroll down the rest of the GC teams, I was actually taking a look while you were talking about the teams. A lot of them are Miraidon. Miraidon plus a cool tech. You know, like this one is Sinistra. The Joji team is Ditto. I think I would call the cool tech, even if it is Joe UX9's team. We have Gabrielle Agati, who got top 8 with Iron Treads and Miraidon. You know, it's like, so it's cool when you actually take a look down the list, you see all of these different Miraidon teams plus something cool.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good in the GC setting, right? If you know you're hopefully going to win the speed ties, do you have other things that are in your favor for the Miraidon matchup? I also think that top 14, that was Kaito Ari. Didn't he win Japan Nats last year? Right?
I don't think it was it last
2
year?
years ago? Was it 2 years
before?
ago?
I think it was 2 years before, and it was also a Talonflame that didn't have an item.
Yes.
That's
right. And then Tomoya Ogawa, our former senior world champion with the Sylveon, Rose's Sylveon. Yes. So a lot of heavy hitters in top finishes for the GC this time around.
Although Tomoya actually didn't share the restricted that he used. So you just have to guess.
Cosmog.
Figure it out. That's why he's saving it for Worlds. He's saving it for Worlds.
Yeah. Gotta save the tech. The tech.
All right. Well, as Sierra said, I got a job, Rose. All right. I got a job to do. So we're going to have to wrap up here, but we can't end the pod without our question of the week. For those who are just joining us for the first time on OHKO, thank you so much for joining us this week. How we always end every podcast is we have a question of the week submitted by one of our viewers from our Discord. So if you ever have any burning questions to ask Sierra, myself, or our guests, make sure you go join our Discord and join or ask us in the question of the week channel. And this one is coming from Combi. I'm not sure. They have a Clodsire as their photo in the Discord, and says, if the next VGC format is a double restricted format, what do you predict the top restricted pair will be, and which restricted pair will be in the most unique pair? So, like, let's just say we all are anticipating double restricted. If that is the next format, what do you personally believe will be the number one restricted duo pair?
Didn't pick the question of the week I wanted to pick. How dare you, Joe Brown?
Oh, what
right.
did you want? We'll talk later.
Crazy. I think that we should stop putting Miraidon and Koraidon up against each other. Put them both on the same team.
A little dual primals action going on.
Yep, you get the sun, you get the electric terrain. They can live in harmony, being the top restricted pair.
Wow, that's crazy. That means you get to put Iron Hands and Fluttermane and...
Yeah, I'm just saying, Raging Bolt on electric terrain and with the sun boost. You lead the two. Yeah, you Volta switch with the Miraidon. You've already just done a bunch of damage. And it's like, oh my god, this is crazy. Bring in a Raging Bolt. What's going to stop the Thunderclap with the Protosynthesis attack boost, like special attack boost, in the sun with Life Orb? Nothing.
Nothing. Farigarath?
Nothing.
Arena?
No, but that is where now you Volt switched out.
True.
And your Miraidon's in the back. So they're like, oh, I'm going to be saucy here. I'm going to bring in a DD. No, you bring Miraidon back in. What are they going to do? Checkmate. You're still going to Thunderclap them.
It's that simple.
Point.
That simple. I'm cooking.
I'll go second. We'll have Rose cap us off. I think I'm gonna slow down the pace here, Sierra. You go super fast. These 135 base speed legendaries. I'm gonna slow it down. With everyone keeps saying Lunala, just wait till we get a second restricted slot. Lunala is going to be on most of those teams as the secondary restricted. I say Ice Rider Lunala is going to be a fantastic core together. You don't know who's setting in the trick room. Lunala can run the wide guard to keep Ice Rider and itself safe from Astral Barrage, because the one thing you'd say, they're both psychic types, you're going to get dunked by Astral Barrage. Not if I have wide guard on the team, then the Shadow Rider's not really touching either of us. I could switch the Incin in on the Astral Barrage anyway, it's whatever, but I do think Trick Room's gonna get a lot better when Ice Rider doesn't have to waste a turn clicking Trick Room itself and can let Lunala hit it.
Good answer.
I hate that answer.
I'm gonna split the difference. I actually think that the top restricted duo is going to be Ice Rider, Calyrex, and Miraidon.
Oh, we're going both ends? Are you using them together in the same games, or is it like for a fast mode or a slow mode?
I think you can use them in the same game. I think that similarly to like Sierra's strategy, like imagine you set Trick Room with Calyrex Ice. You get to Volt Switch out, bring in something that can utilize a Trick Room right away after you set it. All I'm saying, I think that there's some heat there. Plus, I think it's gonna be some combination of like a Calyrex plus Miraidon. Like it could also be like Shadow Rider, Calyrex, Miraidon. But I think you have to look at some of these Pokemon that are more accurate than others, and probably, well, why are we not using just two of the strongest restricteds in the format? But I want Groudon to work. Gosh darn it, I'm ready for the Miraidon Groudon strategy with like Discharge and Precipice Blades and 2 one-hit knockouts. Thank you very much.
If you just run Zoom Lens, you don't have to worry about the accuracy.
Yeah, honestly, I might go back to the builder and try it. I want to make Groudon work so bad. And it ain't happening. I miss way too many Precipice Blades.
Have you tried like praying to Arceus before you click the button?
Please, Arceus, please let me hit the Precipice Blades. Please.
Listen, Arceus, if you're free, 1, Pokemon Auto Chess, 2, hit my Precipice Blades, please. That's the order that we're praying in.
That's the wish list right there.
I believe. I mean, at least like if you're hitting like Discharge and Precipice Blades at the same time, like you're still doing a lot of the damage with the one. So then maybe you just knock out both Pokemon and Groudon could be like the most value, like the MVP of like doing nothing.
exactly. It's just there to
Literally,
have a good time.
like Mario Party Luigi wins by doing nothing. Absolutely nothing.
That's fair.
All right. I definitely think that for what the next format will be, that there'll be a lot of great conversation there. But early thoughts, as mine's definitely super, super serious there. But Joe Brown has a job to go do. I have TFT to go play.
That's fair.
I imagine Rose might be in the same camp.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap this up. Rose, thank you so much for joining us. For
Wait,
any
Rose, where
viewers
can people
that
find you? Real
happened,
quick,
I
real
was
quick.
gonna say that. Gosh
Oh.
darn it, Joe Brown. Have some
Listen.
trust in me. It's been 73 episodes. I know
First
how to
of
ask
all-
the guests what their socials are.
First of all, I haven't seen you in like 3 weeks, Sierra. I don't know what you're talking about because it was me and Stefan, and then it was me, Gabby, and TJ. So I was a little rusty in my trust. A little rusty trusty. Okay, I'm sorry.
Unreal. Rose, okay, we'll try this again. Rose, thank you so much for joining us. For those who live under a rock and might not be following you already, where can they find you?
Well, first off, thank you both so much for having me. It's been a blast. I hope people enjoyed this episode. And also make sure you give them a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed this episode so you can, follow the channels for OHKO Podcast. But if you're also curious about where you can find me, I'm on at Nekkra, Nekkra, on almost every social media platform, I'm happy to say. So yeah, check it out. And I hope to see you guys around.
And she's almost at 10K on YouTube, so make sure to go
Check
subscribe to
out
her
Sylvie
as well.
on Shoutcasters, baby.
Yeah.
We're doing our best out here.
I'm right there with yeah, it ain't going good.
I'm popping off for Hisui and Gudra every week. I'm popping off. I'm like,
Well,
let's
thank
go.
you for the support.
And thank you all at home for the support and listening here. If you enjoyed, a like would be much appreciated. If you're interested in the conversations about anything Pokemon related, the question of the week, etc., make sure to join the Discord. We have a great community over there, and we would love if you wanted to be a part of that. But thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next week for the next episode of OHKO. Take care.